Hi, I'm Amy Romeo, back with another fun faux leather craft for your Cricut. This one is Valentine's Day themed. Today I'll be showing you how to make this really cute love letter design card wallet. And the little design here is heat transfer vinyl on the top. There's a snap that opens and you can fit a card or write a little love note inside. I've attached it to some keychain hardware with some little fun tassels, and I really think you're going to like this project. I'll let you know how to get the SVG file for this in just a minute, but first let's talk about the tools and materials we'll be using. I'll have everything linked for you in the video description, so go check that out, and I'll have links and all the supplies for you. Now for this project, you'll need to use one of the larger Cricut machines, either the Maker 3, the Explorer Air 2, or the Explorer 3. I'll be using the purple strong grip mat to cut my faux leather, and I'll be using the green standard grip mat to cut my heat transfer vinyl. To press the heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather, I'll be using my Cricut Easy Press Mini, but you could also use a regular Easy Press. For either one, you'll want to have a heat pressing pad of some kind and also a cover sheet. You can use Teflon sheet like this one, I've trimmed it smaller, or you can use butcher paper or parchment paper. Now for the supplies, I'm using some faux leather. Faux leather comes in sheets, it also comes in rolls. Again, I'll have links to everything for you. I'm going to use white for my sample today so that it looks more like a letter, but you could use any solid color you'd like. And also there are tons of really pretty Valentine's Day patterns from my favorite faux leather supplier. I'll have links to these prints for you also. The only thing I wanted to mention was you may want to look for a all over print that doesn't have a particular direction. Like this one, the hearts are all over the place. If you're using a print that has a direction, for example, this print, all the hearts are facing up. This pattern is designed to fold over on the top and on the bottom to create the flaps. So when you fold over that top, then your little flap will have an upside down print. So I just wanted to call that out, but there are lots of directionless patterns to choose from. The heat transfer vinyl that I'm using, I'm going to use some Cricut foil iron-on, some Caesar glitter. You can also use regular heat transfer vinyl. Now the snaps are called Kam Snaps, and they're little plastic snaps that we apply using special Kam Snap pliers. Now if you've made one of my Kam Snap projects before, you may already have the pliers. If you don't, you're going to want to get some. Now the important thing about these Kam Snaps is whenever we're snapping through 3 thicknesses of faux leather, like here, then we need to use what's called a extra long Kam Snaps. So these are size 20s. They're just like the regular size, but the post that goes through the material is longer. So size 20 extra longs, and you can get these on Amazon in white, red, and then a light pink. And then on the Kam Snap website, you can get lots of different colors. So size 20 extra longs for those. I did want to mention on Amazon, I found some really cute little heart snaps, and these will work for the top cover if you wanted to use a heart, but you will still need a size 20 extra long for down here. I have some blue painter's tape that we'll use to get good cuts with our faux leather, some regular scissors, I have some curved scissors, and then I have some jewelry making pliers that I'll use to attach my keyring hardware if you'd like. I've designed in the pattern a little place to put a jump ring if you want to attach this to a keyring. So this is a fun lobster claw keyring, or you could use just a regular keyring. I'll also show you in Design Space how to hide these little holes if you just want to use it as a wallet. Then I also will show you how to attach a fun little tassel at the end and maybe an optional charm or two. Okay, so let me show you how to grab the SVG file for this project and we'll get started. The SVG file for this project is in my shop. I'll leave a link in the description for you as well as a link on the screen. You can also visit shop.amyromeo.com and type love letter here in the search bar. After you check out, you receive an email with a download link. You'll download the folder and then unzip it so you can access the SVG file inside. Starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload and then Upload Image, and you're going to browse to where the unzipped SVG file for this project has been saved on your device. Click on it to select it and then click Open. You'll see a preview of the shapes and then click Continue and then Upload. And that's going to bring the 3 shapes for this project onto your canvas. So the light pink shape is the faux leather wallet itself, and then the 2 darker pink layers are going to cut from heat transfer vinyl. Now both of these layers are optional. This layer here is going to give you that outline that makes this look more like a letter, and that's going to be pressed onto the front of your faux leather. And then this is an optional liner for the inside of your wallet, where when you open up your little flap of your wallet, then you would see this pop of color inside. Now the reason that this does not cover the entire shape of the wallet is because we're trying to minimize the adding any thickness here around these little holes that our cam snaps are going to go through. So I'm going to show you how to cut all 3 of these layers today, but if you don't want to cut any of them, you can just hide them or delete them on your canvas. Now I mentioned if you don't want to attach the jump ring here and attach this to a keychain, you can hide these little holes that are going to cut. And the way we do that is by ungrouping so that we can only manipulate this shape. And then with this shape selected, we're going to click the contour button. And then all you're going to do is click on those 2 little holes. You'll see them sort of fade away, and then click the X, and then you'll be back here and those little shapes are gone. But I want to cut those shapes, so I'm going to undo that. So I don't need to make any adjustments here. I'm just going to go ahead and click the Make It button. And Design Space is going to separate our project into 2 different mats. Now the first thing we need to do is toggle that mirror button on for each of our mats, because faux leather and heat transfer vinyl cut in reverse. And here I'm just going to drag my shape a little bit away from the edge of my mat and the top. Now I'm going to be using a piece of faux leather that is 9 inches wide, so this will fit perfectly. You can see that 9-inch mark there. If you need to, you can turn your piece of faux leather sideways so that your little pattern will fit. So my faux leather that we'll cut will be about 9 inches wide and about 7 inches tall. Now let's click on the heat transfer vinyl mat, and you'll see 2 different shapes there, and they are both on the same mat because they are the same color, which tells Cricut that you want to cut them from the same material and use the same material setting. That's what I did for the example I showed you, where I have the red foil iron-on the outside and on the inside of the sample. For this demonstration though, I want to cut this from 2 different types of heat transfer vinyls, so I can have some glitter heat transfer vinyl on the inside and some foil iron-on the outside. So to do that, I need to move one of these shapes to its own mat. And the way to do that is to click on these 3 dots, say Move Object, New Mat, and I'll just choose any color, click Confirm, and now we've got it here on its own mat, so I can choose a different material setting. Make sure your new mat is also mirrored. Again, I'm going to drag it away from the edge just a little bit. And on this one, I will drag this over here. Both of these mats are mirrored, so we are all set to go there. I'm going to click back on my faux leather mat because I like to cut that one first. Click Continue. And I'm going to use this faux leather paper thin setting. If you don't have this setting bookmarked as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explorer Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to Custom before you can find this setting when you search. So faux leather paper thin, and I'm going to change the pressure to More Pressure. That's really important when you're cutting faux leather with a Cricut. And this is a reminder that we're just using the regular fine point blade that comes with our machine. Now for your heat transfer vinyl mats, you'll want to use the manufacturer's recommended cut settings for your particular type and brand of vinyl. Okay, let's hop back over to my overhead camera and we'll start to put together our love letter card wallet. So I've already trimmed my 9x12 piece of faux leather down to that size that we talked about in the mat preview screen. It's about 9 inches wide and 8 inches tall. And then I was left with this little piece. This is great for earrings, or I'm going to have a Valentine's Day bookmark project for you, so you can save this piece for that project. The white here, I'm going to put this pretty side down onto my purple strong grip mat right here in that top area. I'm going to press this really well with my hands, and then I'm going to use some blue painter's tape, and I'm going to tape this down on all sides. This is going to help keep this material from shifting on the mat as the blade is cutting through. So I already have my faux leather paper thin cut setting with more pressure ready to go. So all I need to do is load the mat into the machine and begin the cut. So my cut has run one time, and before I unload the mat, I always like to use my sharp weeding tool and just lift up the edge to make sure the cut went all the way through. If it didn't, you can rerun the cut as many times as you need to just by pressing your cut button again. Now it's important that our little circles cut too, because there's quite a few circles in this pattern. So I think I'm just going to repeat the cut one time just to be sure our little circles cut well. So I'm going to remove my shape from the mat, and then I'm going to use my sharp weeding tool again just to make sure to poke through all of the little holes in the pattern. Now if they don't poke through cleanly, don't worry, you can use something like small curved scissors or embroidery scissors just to trim them away from the faux leather. So our pattern is ready. I'm going to set this aside, and now I'm going to return to Design Space, and I'm going to cut out the 2 heat transfer vinyl mats and weed away the excess so we can start pressing them onto the faux leather and assembling our card wallet. Okay, so I've finished cutting out my faux leather pattern, and I've also cut and weeded those 2 heat transfer vinyl layers. So for this one, you're weeding away the inside, so we're just having that outline. You're obviously weeding away the outside, and then this is that optional inside lining that will go inside our little card wallet here, so when you open it up, you see that pop of color. So on this one, you want to make sure you weed out, there's a little tiny hole, I'm sure you can't see that, but it's the hole that matches up with the hole for our little snap. So both these layers are weeded, and I just want to orient you briefly on our little pattern here. So this part that's more triangular shaped, that's the top, that's our flap that's going to fold over. When we go to assemble this, we're going to fold both of these sides in and the bottom up to create our little envelope. Okay, so I have my Easy Press Mini set on the low setting, which is that first green line. If you're doing this with a larger Easy Press, I recommend setting it to about 265 degrees to start. Even though Cricut recommends a higher temperature for heat transfer vinyl, I find that you do need a lower temperature when pressing heat transfer vinyl onto faux leather, which is a more temperature sensitive material. Okay, so all I'm going to do is make sure my pattern is pretty side up, which I know is hard to tell when it's white, but it's pretty side up. And I'm just going to get this nicely lined up so that all of my edges match. Remember, this little outline is completely optional, so you can just skip it if you don't want to use it, but that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to use my cover sheet. This is, again, a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed smaller because I make a lot of small objects, but you could also use butcher paper or parchment paper. Now I'm just going to take my time and I'm going to press all around. I want to get at least 10 seconds of good pressing with medium pressure all around. So I've pressed all over, and now I want to very carefully start to peel. Now if when you're peeling your vinyl lifts up, then you want to place your cover sheet right back down and continue pressing. So take your time with this, but this looks pretty good. So that just creates that really cute outline. Now the foil is very shiny. If you want a little more of a matte finish, you can go back through, especially with this little Teflon sheet that has a tiny bit of texture, and it just pops that shine down a little bit. It's completely up to you. Now what I'm going to do is flip this over, and I'm going to press the lining inside. So it's flipped over. The triangle part of the top flap is facing up. Now you can make sure that this is working correctly because your little holes here on the left hand side of your little card wallet, and we've got those little cutout holes. Again, it's hard to see on the glitter, but we've got little cutout notches here. So you're just going to line up the outer edges of your flap, Make sure your holes all line up too. And that's how you know this is in the right place. Again, I'm just going to cover and press. So again, I'm just going to slowly peel away this clear carrier sheet, and I'm going to press it back down if I need to. That looks pretty good. Once that carrier sheet's removed, I'm just going to cover one more time and press for about 5 seconds all over. So this is still warm and I want it to cool nice and flat. So I'm going to place this underneath my heat pressing pad for just a few seconds. When we come back, we will assemble our cam snaps and put the finishing touches on our card wallet. So our little card wallet pattern is pressed on both sides, and now it's time to assemble the cam snaps. So cam snaps are plastic snaps. Again, we're using size 20s and we're using extra long for one of these elements, and I'll show you which one in just a moment. But first, let me talk you through this little diagram here. There are 4 parts that we need for every snap. We need a cap for the top and a cap for the bottom. We need a stud and we need a socket. So the stud has little bumps and a little thing that points down, and the socket has sort of a little cup, and this stud is going to snap into this socket. So when you buy cam snaps, you might get them from Amazon and they come in a big box like this. All 4 of these elements are inside of each of these different colors. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that you do need an extra long cam snap, and that's because this bottom cap here is going to poke through our 3 layers of faux leather, and this is what we need to be extra long. Now, the cap does not need to be extra long, and these 2 elements are the same whether you're using extra longs or you're using regulars. So I'm trying not to be too confusing, but as I mentioned, you can buy extra long on Amazon. So if you buy extra long on Amazon, the only one that's going to be different in your package is this bottom one. So, and that one's going to go inside. So inside our wallet here, you can't even see it, is the extra long snap. So if you wanted to use the colorful cam snaps that you already have that are size 20s, all you need to do is buy a pack on Amazon in white of extra long, and then you'll have that inside extra long snap that you need, and you can use all the rest of your regular pieces. If you haven't bought cam snaps before and you just buy the extra longs, then you'll get all 4 of the elements in there. But I did want you to know that really the only thing that's different is this bottom one. Okay, so I like to go through and take out one of each of these elements and put them here on my work surface. And I did mention before that they make the cute little heart ones. So I actually am going to use a heart one for the cover, again, because it doesn't need to be extra long. The hearts are just regular. So I'm going to use a regular heart for the front, and then I'm going to use regular pieces here, and this bottom one that goes inside is the extra long. So let's go ahead and start with that extra long piece. What we're going to do, you're going to pick either flap, doesn't matter which one. I'm going to start with the left side here, and I'm going to put that extra long post through the little hole here, facing down. Then I'm going to fold this in, kind of hold on to it on the back with your finger, and then fold over the other flap. So whichever other flap you used, fold that over. I like to put it kind of flat so that it's pressing up against here and it doesn't move around. Then I'm going to take this bottom flap and I'm going to fold it up. So now we've got all 3 layers of that faux leather onto that extra long post. Now what I like to do is use a little bit of blue painter's tape. Once I get my little flaps here on the bottom laid out the way I want to, I like to put a little piece of tape just so that they don't move around. Once you snap this into place, then it's snapped. So if you've got your little flaps here a little cockeyed, then they'll be permanently that way once you snap them in, and we don't want that. Okay, so extra long cap poking up through all 3 holes. And now I'm just going to take the socket. So let me show you on my little diagram here. We're down here on these bottom 2. So the socket and the cap. Now we're going to put the socket on. That's the one that has sort of the opening. It's like a cup shape. And then we're going to take the cam snap pliers And the black part of the Kam Snap pliers always goes over the cap. So the cap is on the inside. The white part always goes onto either the socket or the stud. And all you're going to do is kind of line this up. I know it's a little hard to see, but it'll be easier to see when I do the top part. Basically, once you have this positioned correctly, you'll feel it. That cap is inside this black piece here and you can't see it anymore. If you see the edge of the cap, that means that you don't have it on correctly. Then when you have the cap on correctly, then this part here will be perfectly centered under the white clear piece. Okay, so all I'm going to do now, squeeze very hard with 2 hands, release, and now you have the bottom part of the snap done. So I'm just going to carefully remove my little tape here. Now if you wanted to, you could now apply some glue inside here, right inside these little flaps. I recommend like a Fabri-Tac, or you could use some other kind of fabric glue. You'll just want to, again, apply some blue painter's tape over here after you're glued to just, help you glue those things into position. You could also use something like hot glue. It's up to you. Now we're going to apply our snap to our little flap. So again, we need our cap, which I'm going to use a heart-shaped cap, and a stud. So we'll just take our little heart cap here, put it on this side. That's super cute for Valentine's Day. And then we'll put our stud here. Now on the stud, the bumps go down, and that part that pops up is what's going to snap into this part here. Again, we're using the black part to cover the front of the cap, and you should not see the cap once you have it correctly in place. Let me see if I can show you that. You can't, oh goodness, you can't see the cap. It's inside that black part. And then that puts this part perfectly lined up underneath the white part there. Okay, so all we're going to do is squeeze. Easy peasy. And there's the other part of our snap. Now it's important to note with these little hearts, you want to make sure that your heart is facing the right direction, facing properly before you snap it down, because it will snap into position upside down or sideways if you don't check that beforehand. Okay, there's a little snap. I'll show you how that works. It just pops in like that. Isn't that cute? Okay, so now it's time to add our hardware, our keychain hardware. I'm going to go ahead and just add my little jump ring here. This is a 10mm jump ring and a gold finish, and I'm just going to thread it through one of the holes, thread it back up, and then I'm going to take my little lobster claw that has the key ring at the bottom, just attach that key ring, close it up like that. And then these are fun because they have a little swivel here on the key ring. Let me snap this up. So it's fun to add a little tassel or a charm. So I'm going to add both. I'm just going to take another 10mm jump ring. I'm going to attach it to a little faux suede tassel. We'll find that swivel. Just connect that. And then let's take a little bow charm. These are really cute. There's big ones or small ones. We'll attach a little bow as well. And there we go. Isn't that cute? Little love letter card wallet. 2 different versions, both using the same pattern, so you can get whatever effect you'd like. Remember to check out the description for the links to all the supplies that I used, and also the link to get the SVG for this file. If you make this project, I would love to see it. I'll leave a link also to my free faux leather crafting group on Facebook. We would love for you to join us. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.